what I said 10 years ago is our position with respect to reforms and the successful development of Azerbaijan during the years of independence shows that economic and political reforms, if implemented in parallel, lead to success. And of course, we continue our reform.
Thank you, President. First of all, I would like to ask the press to leave the room because our members can't see the President in his address. And I would also remind people who have come to listen to you that they are not allowed to express any act of approval or disapproval. So I think I ask the press really also not to hide the view of our parliamentarians. There is still one problem with the camera, I think, that we should arrange. Thank you. Excuse me for interrupting you, President, but as the President of this Assembly, I have to look that everything is being developed as it should. So now you have the floor again.
You quoted me twice, so you can interrupt me also twice to see time ready. So the reforms implemented in Azerbaijan show that when they are implemented in parallel, they can lead to substantial progress. And of course, the years of membership of Azerbaijan in the Council of Europe were the years of a very rapid economic and political transformation. Actually, reforms in Azerbaijan started in the mid-90s, just several years after restoration of our independence. The first years of independence were marked with enormous complications and tragedy for our people. First of all, the social unrest, economic complications, difficult political, economic and military crisis, inefficient government of the previous leadership of Azerbaijan. All that led to a very serious situation where even our statehood was put under question. As a result of this situation, we had civil war in Azerbaijan in 1993, which was the most tragic part of our modern history. So reforms started in mid-90s. The new democratic constitution of Azerbaijan was adopted, and economic and political reforms are being conducted, as I said, in parallel, and lead to a substantial progress our country achieved during the years of independence. Joining the Council of Europe was our conscious choice, because we wanted to be a member of this institution, we wanted to deepen the reforms, and of course, we knew that joining the Council of Europe will also imply commitments, and we are ready for these commitments, and so far we implement commitments and obligations. As Madam President said, we joined almost 60 conventions, we upgraded our legislation, and the reforms which we implement today create a very positive atmosphere in our society. With respect to fundamental freedoms, all the fundamental freedoms are provided in Azerbaijan. Freedom of political activity, we have hundreds of political institutions, political parties. Freedom of expression, freedom of media, we have media freedom, and more than 40 daily and almost 200 weekly and monthly newspapers, 9 countrywide TV channels, 14 regional and 14 cable TV channels. We have free internet, and the number of users of internet in Azerbaijan is more than 70%. And our government is implementing now a very large investment demanding project of broadband internet to every city and to every village. In other words, having free internet and no censorship, we cannot restrict media freedom. On the contrary, we're in favor of media freedom, because media freedom means democracy. It helps the government to concentrate on shortcomings, It creates a necessary link between the government and society, and this is one of the biggest assets of Azerbaijan, modern Azerbaijan, and we are proud of that. Therefore, I can say once again, media freedom is fully provided. Freedom of association and assembly also is fully provided, and political institutions take advantage of that, and from time to time had rallies which are held in a peaceful atmosphere, which also shows our commitment to reforms. I'd like to say that implementation of reforms for us is a priority, not because we need to implement commitments or to get some positive assessment from international institutions. That's because we are modernizing our country. And as I said 10 years ago, without strong democratic institutions, our economic success cannot be sustainable. Therefore, economic and political reforms in parallel, democratization of society, create now a positive atmosphere in our society. We have religious freedoms, which is also biggest assets of our country. We are multi-ethnic and multi-religious society for centuries. Representatives of different nationalities and religions lived in peace and dignity in Azerbaijan, and values of multiculturalism is one of the priorities which we also will concentrate during our chairmanship. Azerbaijan was the initiator of Baku process, which started in 2008, where the session of the Ministers of Culture of Council of Europe countries, we invited Ministers of Culture of the countries of Islamic Cooperation Organization. That was for the first time in the history, representatives of two important international institutions got together in Baku. The next day, 2009, was vice versa. We invited ministers from countries of Council of Europe to participate at Islamic Conference Summit in Baku. Therefore, multiculturalism is one of the advantages and big assets, and we definitely will concentrate on that during our chairmanship because there is a big need for that. We see, unfortunately, in different parts of the world, in our neighborhood, in Middle East, in Europe, the tendencies which are creating certain concerns. The tendencies of alienation, separation, and sometimes hatred. We need to address this issue because we live in the world in order to contribute, to create a better world for everyone, for all the people of all the religions, regardless of the level of their living standards, to live in dignity and peace. Therefore, tensions based on religious sentiments are very dangerous for every country, including a country with a national component of its society. Among other priorities, we will concentrate on the implementation of resolutions and decisions of international organizations. Because as far as we are concerned, several important resolutions and decisions of United Nations Security Council, Council of Europe, Parliamentary Assembly, European Parliament, OSCE were adopted with regard to conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but none of them was implemented. Therefore, there should be a mechanism of implementation of resolutions adopted by prominent international institutions. And this mechanism must be elaborated by all of us. Otherwise, these resolutions lose their substance. We will strongly advocate for superiority of the norms and principles of international law, and I'm very grateful to Madam President for her comments in her introductory remarks with respect to territorial integrity of Azerbaijan, which is a fundamental principle of international law, and the main principle which must be observed in resolution of the protracted conflicts. Yesterday, our minister addressing the Assembly also elaborated on other priorities, therefore I will not go into much detail, just to name them. Fight against corruption will be one of our priorities. I think that Azerbaijan has unique experience in this area because unfortunately all the former republics of the Soviet Union have the same problem. This legacy of corruption seriously damages the successful development of our country. Therefore, in Azerbaijan, we implement numerous measures, including administrative and also institutional reforms in order to combat corruption with great success. And one of them was relatively newly established the public services program, which exists for 1.5 years, and already almost 2 million people applied to these centers and got necessary documents, and this seriously influenced the reduction of corruption in Azerbaijan. Therefore, this experience, I think, will be interesting for member states also to know. During the visit of Mr. Secretary General to Azerbaijan, he visited one of these centers. Youth and education is our priority as far as our policy, domestic policy is concerned. Our society is young, very dynamic, educated. The level of literacy in Azerbaijan is close to 100%, and we clearly understand that only educated society can be a guarantee for successful development, can be a guarantee against radicalism, against fundamentalism. Therefore, education is one of the top priorities for our government, and during the last 10 years, more than 3,000 schools were built in Azerbaijan, and also the quality of education is improving. At the same time, we implement numerous programs in collaboration with the leading universities of the world, sending our young students to train so that we can have intellectual potential in line with our economic potential. These are basically the main priorities which will concentrate during our chairmanship. Our chairmanship is an important milestone in the history of our membership in the Council of Europe. Of course, this chairmanship is a chairmanship based on rotation principles. Therefore, it's just our turn has come, but at the same time, it will be a good chance for us to present our country and to address important issues also which create concern in different European countries, issues related to democracy, rule of law, and sometimes selective approach to situation in different countries. I think one of the issues which we'll definitely raise during our chairmanship is the situation of sometimes differentiated approach to situation in the countries of the same region. Therefore, refuse from the principles of double standards, I think, will be a great contribution if we succeed during our chairmanship in the Assembly. As far as the general development of our country is concerned, as I said before, country is young, but with great history, traditions, dynamic, with a very active foreign policy, and a country which plays a stabilizing role in the region, because the potential of Azerbaijan is growing, and our initiatives related to regional cooperation are supported by our neighbors, and today the neighborhood is growing, so initiatives which we launch now cover many more countries. We have a strong support from international community and very positive reputation in international institutions. Our biggest diplomatic success was when Azerbaijan was elected as a non-permanent member of United Nations Security Council. As a young country which still needs to present itself to the world, that was the biggest achievement, and we are proud of that. And also we are proud of the fact that 155 countries supported our candidacy. So absolute majority of international community trusts Azerbaijan, supports Azerbaijan, and considers Azerbaijan as a reliable partner. And during 2 years, of our membership, twice we chaired the United Nations Security Council, and according to the overwhelming assessment, our chairmanship and membership was very successful. We largely contributed to peace, security, stability, predictability in the world. At the same time, membership in Security Council was a unique experience for our country, which of course we will use in the future initiatives. We established very constructive relations with the absolute majority of international community. Our bilateral ties with European countries are developing very successfully. Europe is our main trading partner, and historic links between Azerbaijan and Europe strengthened during the years of independence. At the same time, Azerbaijan, as a Muslim country, is an active member of Islamic Cooperation Organization, and I think we play a very important role as a not only geographic but cultural and political bridge in our region. And the more successful we are, the more active role we can play in the interaction between civilizations. Actually, International Dialogue for Civilizations Forum sessions in Baku shows that Azerbaijan is one of the world's centers of multiculturalism, and the International Center for Multiculturalism will be created soon in our country. Among the problems which we are facing, the biggest problem is the violation of internationally recognized territorial integrity of Azerbaijan. Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict is a conflict which puts under danger the whole region. It is called frozen, protracted conflict, but this conflict is neither frozen nor it can be frozen, because the conflict must be resolved. Nagorno-Karabakh is a historic part of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijanis lived in Nagorno-Karabakh for centuries. Armenians were settled in that area less than 200 years ago. Historic monuments, our heritage in Nagorno-Karabakh, unfortunately, is now destroyed by Armenian occupational army. The conflict resulted in occupation of 20% of international recognized territory of Azerbaijan. We were the subject of ethnic cleansing by Armenian gangs and Armenian army. 1 million Azerbaijanis became refugees and internally displaced persons in Azerbaijan. And Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 districts around Nagorno-Karabakh are under occupation for more than 20 years. This is the biggest injustice because, as I said, Nagorno-Karabakh is a historic part of Azerbaijan. The word Karabakh is of Azerbaijani origin. All the geographic toponyms of that area belongs to our people. At the same time, from international law norms point of view, Nagorno-Karabakh is an integral part of Azerbaijan. The whole world recognized Nagorno-Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan. No one, including Armenia, recognizes illegal Nagorno-Karabakh regime as independent entity. United Nations Security Council, the highest international body of the world, adopted 4 resolutions demanding unconditional and immediate withdrawal of Armenian occupational forces from occupied territory. Unfortunately, as I said before, these resolutions are not implemented. And this is again the policy of double standards, because we see sometimes that resolutions of United Nations are being implemented within hours. And in our case, it's more than 20 years. And there's no mechanism. Armenia just doesn't want to liberate the territory. They don't want to leave occupied territory. They want to keep everything unchanged. They want to keep status quo unchanged. And this is in total contradiction with the efforts of international mediators, OSCE Minsk Group and its co-chairs, 3 countries, permanent members of United Nations Security Council, United States, Russia and France, their presidents, a couple of times made a clear statement that status quo is not acceptable, and that means that Armenia should start withdrawal of its occupational forces from occupied territories. But they just ignore international law, they ignore statements of the leading countries of the world, they ignore resolution of Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, which was adopted in 2005. Corresponding resolution was adopted by European Parliament. Decisions of OSCE, all of them demand the occupation, withdrawal of Armenian troops from occupied territories. But unfortunately, the conflict is not resolved. Azerbaijan behaves very constructively. For more than 20 years, we are committed to negotiation process. But everybody should understand, including Armenians, that this process cannot last forever. Sooner or later, something may happen. Therefore, the sooner Armenian leadership recognizes that it is unacceptable to occupy the territory of other countries in the 21st century, the better for them. But unfortunately, we don't see the adequate approach from Armenian leadership. Previous Armenian president, speaking here in this home of democracy, said that there is a national incompatibility between Armenians and Azerbaijanis. His successor, the current leader of Armenia, describes the conflict as a religious one. This is absolutely unacceptable approach. First of all, Azerbaijanis don't have any incompatibility with any nation. Maybe Armenians have, but not only with us, because today this country is mono-ethnic. 99.9% of population of Armenia are Armenian. All the minorities, including Azerbaijanis, were forced to leave. Therefore, this racist approach cannot prevail in negotiation. We need to address this issue and to restore justice, restore territorial integrity of Azerbaijan. Unfortunately, as a result of this occupation, our historic monuments are destroyed, our mosques are leveled to ground, our cemeteries are destroyed, and today the occupied territories is land totally destroyed. OSCE sent twice missions, fact-finding and field assessment missions to the occupied territories, and their report clearly shows that everything is destroyed. This is a result of Armenian vandalism on the occupied territories. Territorial integrity is the basic principle of international law. Self-determination, which Armenian side always refers to, should not violate territorial integrity of the country. Let Armenian leadership read the Helsinki Final Act carefully and see the clear definition. And plus, Armenians already self-determinated themselves. They have Armenian state, which actually was created on a historic Azerbaijani land. Maybe many of members of Assembly do not know, but Armenian delegation, of course, knows that one of the first decrees of Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, which was created as a result of collapse of Russian Empire in 1918, was to give Yerevan as the capital for Armenian state. So they already have their state. How many Armenian states do they want? Do they want everywhere they live to create another state? Why should be another state in Azerbaijan? One is enough. Therefore, self-determination should not violate territorial integrity. Conflict must be resolved as soon as possible for the benefit of all of us, including Armenian people who suffer from this Armenian government, which leads the country to total collapse and collapse. Despite the conflict, Azerbaijan's economy is growing. Last 10 years, Azerbaijan was the fastest growing economy in the world. No other country increased economic potential as much as Azerbaijan. Our GDP grew 3.4 times. We managed to diversify the economy, and as a result of that, non-energy sector of our economy now is 55% of our GDP. All the international financial institutions highly value our reforms. During the years of financial crisis, main rating agencies, S&P, Moody's and Fitch, upgraded Azerbaijan's credit rating. Davos World Economic Forum ranks Azerbaijan's economy number 39 in the Global Competitiveness Index. That means that we managed to transform economy from planned to market economy to maximum degree, at the same time to create a competitive economy. 1,200,000 jobs were created in Azerbaijan, and also fair distribution of national wealth is one of the main achievements of our country. As a result of that is the level of poverty, which dropped during the last 10 years from 49 to 5.3%. Unemployment is 5%. Budget deficit is in the limits accepted by European Union countries. Foreign debt is 8% of GDP. Financial situation is stable. Social programs are being implemented. Political situation is stable. Azerbaijan is, as I said before, is an active member of international community. Country is modernizing, and we look to the future with great optimism. I don't want to take much of the time which we have for interactions, to leave time for questions, but as you can imagine, I can talk about our country for several hours. Don't want to use all the time for my presentation. Just want to say that chairing the Committee of Ministers is a big challenge, big responsibility. We are ready for that, and we will do our utmost to contribute to the common values of democracy, rule of law, and freedom. Thank you very much.